This model is tricky. Like, I can't force this down someone's throat. Like, no one had done this. I couldn't be like, no, 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 no. Pay us money, trust us, we'll take care of your. Like, it needed to be organic. It needed to be like people said, no, 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 I've done this. I trust them. You should try this too.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Cards and Content. Lot to get into on today's episode. From the past, the present, the future, we have a lot to talk about today. Really, a million things on my mind today. I'll try to start with one, and that is going to be kind of recapping the craziness that has been the last 7 days. So if you guys listened to last week's pod, we talked about quite a few things. The Whatnot Card Show was one of them. The two biggest items I had ever sold on auction before, and the release of Topps basketball for the first time in 16 years with NBA licensing. So what that was, first off, with the Whatnot Card Show, if you were there, if you were a part of that, please understand how much I appreciate that. These are things I do not take for granted. This is something for 20 years I have tried to build, and to be able to run a sale like that with so many people watching and being a part of that is really, really special. We had I think it peaked at around 1,800 people. It was pretty consistently around like 1,200, 1,300 people in the chat, 7+ hours while I was live. We ended up, so our record before, again, I'm just very open about these things, very transparent, is our record previously in March or May, one of the M months in the beginning of the year, was 9,275 orders. That was the most we had ever done on Whatnot. We had shot for 5,000 orders at the time. We did just north of 37,000 orders this live in 12 hours. So an incredible pace. We had beat our record for number of orders in 57 minutes. The first 57 minutes of the show, we had done just over 9,400 orders. So a really, really incredible show, incredible effort from our team. I got to give a lot of credit. There's a lot of, again, I've talked about the logistics and what goes into a sale of that magnitude. You would be amazed at just the amount of planning from a business perspective that goes into something like this. The content we did four full length videos about this, ripping Flawless Football, driving to Dave and Adams to buy, 25,000 packs. We did a case of Prism Black, gave away a Color Blast. That was a cool card to give away. We didn't know what those were going to be worth. I think there was 2 sales at the time. We gave that away around 8K. And then we did one more when we went to the Xenia Card Show to buy a bunch of auction type stuff. And then shipping. The amount of, 9,300 orders took till Tuesday last time to ship 37,000 orders. You can only imagine how long an order like that takes to ship, on top of everything else already going on in the company. So really just the amount of planning and such that goes into that is just, it is a real testament to the people that are here. We've heard it from quite a few people. Like, we always end these podcasts with asking a guest, like, what's one piece of advice if you're starting over today? That's the question I like to ask people as we end these podcasts. And, a couple people have said it. I know Chris Costa was one at Card Vault by Tom Brady. He said you can only go as far as the people around you. And I think that is very, very important, and something I, have definitely taken to heart as I've been trying to build this is, man, having good people makes life a lot easier and makes these moments run a lot smoother. We've run a lot of these big time Whatnot sales, and they were big time back in the day at 1,000 orders and 1,500 orders and 2,000 orders. And we learned a lot from those to be able to execute much, much bigger sales. So, it'll be fun to do one of those again, but definitely a learning experience. And if you were here and you were part of that, just understand like how much it means to me and means to us. The two biggest auctions I had ever sold did end up selling on Fanatics Collect. Man, that's an experience. That's something that'll give you, some like heart murmurs. That's I was live on Whatnot while those were ending on the same day as Topps basketball release. So that day was a lot. My son was also a little under the weather that day. You talk about a lot going on in one day. Nuts. But the Ohtani was a card we expected to do in the six figures. That was really the goal. So when extended bidding went live and the card was at $40,000, I can tell you with some confidence that I was definitely nervous. It ended up getting up, quite a bit. It ended at 132, I think, 132. Brian shaking his head with buyer's premium. In the Topps box, actually did a little bit better than the last sale. Ended up doing 48,000 with buyer's premium. So got to give a huge shout out to Brock and Jesse at Acquire. These guys do a lot of higher end. They've created a massive private network. They used to be at PWCC back in the day before it was sold to Fanatics. Been in the industry a long time, have an incredible reputation, and do some really cool stuff. I sent those two items to them to try to feel out. Ultimately, they recommended auction, and they were super great to work with. So definitely a unique experience. Again, as someone that does not get in that space a whole lot, that is very very uncharted territory for me. Again, a lot of our content is selling $10 packages to a lot of people, 37,000 order Whatnot streams. Like that is our bread and butter. That is the business we've built. It's not a lot of, the stuff you see in the Burbank showcases, those big time cards. It's an incredible piece of the hobby. And, hopefully one day we can, get more into that world, as time frees up. But right now it's not part of our current plan, but those guys definitely made it a lot easier for someone who's never gone through that process before. So got to give them some props. And then Topps basketball release day. I can't think of a product. I'm really trying to think of this. I'm trying to think of a product that's been more marketed than the release of Topps basketball. The Skeens debut might have been after the sale, especially. But just from an individual product launch, man, if you have an idea, I would love some feedback on this and something that's been more marketed than that. I can't think of anything. Nothing comes to mind. It was everywhere. You got to give so much credit to Topps for things like this. It's like a lot like the Hobby Rip Nights. When these Hobby Rip Nights happen, this is the biggest trade night for us every year, really outside of the National. But the biggest trade night we run at our shop, while we've never had any athletes or Michael Rubin, Mike Mahan, the team at Topps, those guys are out at these card shops. They're going to multiple in that, East Coast region. They're visiting multiple shops. They've got a lot of the Topps, top people at different hobby shops, at different events. Like for the Hobby Rip Night, they've got athletes everywhere. Like this is they do a very good job at marketing and bringing attention to this space. Like an incredible job. Topps basketball is another great example. I saw Cooper Flagg signing jumbo trading cards at Card Vault by Tom Brady. I saw Des Bryant was at Card Vault by Tom Brady in Dallas for their opening weekend. I saw Kevin Durant, I think was in Houston doing something for opening day. Michael Rubin was in New York at the NBA flagship store. There was no shortage of coverage about this release. And this is day one. You've just seen so much happening so quickly. And on top of that, not only Topps basketball, also the debut patch auto of Cooper Flagg. We've not talked about this really in a minute, but it got announced. We had talked about it before because it was just always like, I think, Ruben had talked with our friend Elijah, a younger collector who does some great interviews with athletes, celebrities, influencers, and I think he interviewed Michael Rubin at Fanatics Fest and was talking about the pro debut, and Rubin had hinted it there. Wait till we get NFL, wait till we get NBA. So like we had kind of known this was coming, but to see it, this card is going to do numbers. I was watching Cooper Flagg's opening game, his debut game in Dallas. Victor, certainly. Whew, that man ruined that guy's debut. Victor Wembanyama is crazy. But they were talking about it on the broadcast. They were talking about it being, cut up, removed from the patch, being put into a trading card, a 101 trading card by Topps. Like, Topps team, man, they are you can't knock the effort by Topps and everyone there to do what Michael Rubin said, 10x his hobby. They are certainly trying to put more people in front of the trading card space. And if this is any indication of what is coming, as someone who does not predominantly collect basketball cards, the NFL license is right around the corner. And if this is what the NBA looks like, I am excited for what the NFL will look like. I'm excited. We're not getting 2025 football products. That has been rumored. We have not seen any 25 with Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. But if Topps is going to do what they're doing for basketball, and they're going to do that with football, and come April or May, whenever they get the license, and we're going to get Topps Chrome football with Jackson Dart rookie autos, and we're going to get some of those guys, and they're going to have that ready, because this Topps flagship wasn't, I can't imagine Topps built and printed and packaged all of this product in 23 days, I think was release day, October 23rd. They got the license on October 1st. So you would imagine they're planning these things. They're getting this kind of stuff ready. And the amount of marketing, the amount of posts, the amount of content, engagement, interactions around Topps basketball, Cooper Flag debut all at one time. Man, what a release, what an opening weekend. Very, very impressive stuff. So a little bit longer than normal for what's on my mind, but I really think the other talking point would have been the Cooper Flag debut patch auto for this one, before we get into our fun interview today with Tim Getchett. Check out my cards. That card's going to be interesting. I think it will be the single biggest debut patch auto to ever sell. I think it will surpass the $1 million sales with Paul Skeens. You're going to get somebody big involved in this. I don't know if, this is up, Kevin O'Leary's index fund, index card fund. But you got Mark Cuban. You got a guy like Mark Cuban in this. This seems like this is going to be one of those cards that's just going to do silly numbers. Assuming Cooper Flag stays healthy, that debut patch out, I'm going to be curious to see where it goes. But this card is going to sell for numbers. They're going to have a bunch of content about it when that card is made and Cooper Flag signs it. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be really cool. Again, that game, though, if you watch that game, Wembanyama, man, it's unfortunate he doesn't have a debut patch auto. It's really unfortunate we don't have that, because that dude might win the MVP this year. He had 40 that game, had 2 blocks in the first. I think he ended up with 3 or 4 blocks. Dude is an animal. He's a walking tree. He dunks standing up. He is a top 5 player in all of basketball. He's amazing. Man, a lot of fun now with Topps having Flag and Wemby. Excited for those, Topps dynasty. I'm making this up. This could happen. It could not. This is not like I know something. But give me a Topps dynasty, Victor, Cooper Flag, LeBron James, triple, patch auto. They did the triple patch autos in baseball one year, because we had a 101 of Randy Johnson. There's 3 pitchers on that card. Maddox, maybe. I forget who the other one was. But it's 3 Topps dynasty pitchers. Give me the number 1 picks. The big guys Topps has. Give me Victor. Give me LeBron, give me Cooper Flag, triple dynasty relic patch auto. That card would do numbers. So excited. Yeah, I feel really good about that, especially with all of the marketing they are doing. As someone that is extremely invested in this hobby, has a card store, and has a vested interest in this business doing well, this industry doing well. It's really cool to see what they have done. So nothing else crazy this week. We'll be back next week with probably another little recap for the What's on Your Mind around Bowman Chrome University football. We're going to highlight that here in just a second with our guy Gabe Card Stacks. The single biggest release of the year for us as a company, without a doubt, no question, not even close, it's not a debate, is Bowman Chrome University football. The single greatest college football product on earth is coming out very, very soon. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, our guy Tim Getch, owner, founder of Check Out My Cards. This is going to be a fun interview. This was fun for me as someone who is trying to build a cool business. Tim and his team have definitely built something incredible, and I think some of the numbers you hear today will surprise you. So let's kick it over to our interview with Tim Getch. All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. We have a very special guest today. Our friend in the hobby, Tim Getch, the founder of Check Out My Cards, is joining us today on the pod. Tim, thank you so much for joining us here on the pod. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's been great getting to know you over the years, doing some big deals with you. It's fun seeing all the new people, to me, new people in the industry. A lot of people probably have only known the industry with you being an influencer in it. But yeah, it's a pleasure being here with you.
Well, I appreciate that. This is this is going to be fun. I said it in the beginning before we even started that I think I'm going to learn some stuff today as, someone who has used Check Out My Cards for quite a while now. It's been around for a while, but like you said, as the market has grown and expanded, I think some people have, learned about it more recently, and you guys do some incredible things now. So I'm excited to see, what has been added to I'm going to refer to it as COMC. That's how I talk about it.
Yeah. That's perfect.
What's going on at COMC, what's been, added lately, and what is coming. So excited to really get into this and, kind of dive deeper, but I got to start with like the origin story. It's, who are you and how did we get right here?
So I have always been a collector. I started collecting cards like 4th grade, somewhere around there. And very quickly, I wanted to set up at card shows. And I think I was 12 the first time I had a table at a card show. I was interested in the business of cards. I always had that in the background, wanting to be an entrepreneur. I went off to Microsoft as my first job after getting a master's in computer science. So I always also loved technology. Growing up, my dad didn't want me to play games on the computer. So he gave me a programming book, and it's like, okay, if you're going to do an hour of playing games, you should do an hour of programming. And so I'd learn little things. And so I was familiar with programming. I loved programming in college. Worked at Microsoft, got an understanding of how to build tech software. And I saw what was happening in my childhood hobby. I really was big into cards in high school. And then as I went to college, I didn't have time or money. So that was kind of like so many people put on the shelf. But during a break between product cycles at Microsoft, I'm like, what happened to my childhood hobby? I knew eBay was getting really big when I got out of the industry. In fact, I created my eBay account 3 months after eBay hired their first employee back in '96. So I've had a eBay account and been familiar with what was going on with the hobby. And I was like buying Kobe Bryant rookie cards at shows and selling them to people in California back when we didn't even have PayPal. That wasn't a thing. Like we were mailing. A lot of us barely had checking accounts, so it'd be like cash, like taped to a piece of cardboard or something like that through the mail. But anyhow, I knew the industry was going to change. And what I saw when I got back, I was actually, for a moment, really sad. Because I had spent so much money thinking, Beckett had come out and we saw the prices and we're analyzing this as like an investment. And everything on eBay was like a tenth of what I paid for it. And this was back in like 2003. Like I paid so much money in the 90s when it was this boom. And then I'm like, wait a second. I work at Microsoft. I have money. I can buy everything I ever dreamed of. Like it's really cheap now. So I'm just going to go buy a ton of stuff on eBay, and just got really familiar with eBay and like the advantages a large seller has over small sellers. The fact that they can do shipping at scale. I looked at other industries, other companies that were starting in the hobby, and I saw eTops and The Pit, and they both had innovative new concepts where cards were stored remotely. It just wasn't the cards I was collecting. eTops, and I did buy a bunch of eTops cards, and I recently had some of them shipped to myself, and it still works. You just can't really buy and sell on eTops. But they were only Topps manufactured cards, and The Pit was only graded cards, predominantly rookie graded cards, and I collected raw cards. So I'm like, okay, how do I take advantage of all these different things that are happening? eBay has the eyeballs, but this infrastructure concept, this like storing everything in one place might have some legs. And if I could apply this concept of putting things in the cloud, having central storage, I think I could let everybody benefit from one service and get this kind of network effect of like the more people using it, the better it gets. And so that was kind of the origin of starting to go build this thing. I was still at Microsoft when I started it. That was like when I left Microsoft, it was to work on this full time. And that was back in 2007. So it's been quite a ride since then. But that's a quick, like early 2003 was when I started thinking about what this world would look like if we had a service like COMC.
This is going to be a lot of fun. So you start thinking about it in 03. You leave Microsoft, it sounds like in 07. So talk me through some of the early days of Check Out My Cards. Like I got in the hobby in 06. So like I get in 06, you got the Reggie Bush, the Vince Young, you get in 07 to one of, in my opinion, one of the greatest NFL draft classes ever. So I remember those days pretty vividly, like what they were like in the market, going to shows, still using Beckett. That's when like forums were starting to get bigger. So this is when like a lot of the things that I think were big at that time were like really starting to grow. Like I remember forums just being such a big deal. So as you look back at some of those, like talk me through some of those early days in Check Out My Cards, like how you got started, hiring employees, the space, because I'm sure we'll get into the numbers of like how many cards you store at Check Out My Cards. And I'm sure that was not the same number that was there 18 years ago. How did it really get going off the ground?
So we launched the service. I in 2005 started building a website. I called it lowpricecards.com. It was all the extra cards that I had bought from eBay and just showing them to people so that I could create a self-sustaining hobby. They could like buy some stuff and then I could go buy some more stuff on eBay. It was actually going to a high school reunion, like 10-year high school reunion. I ran into a friend who had been involved in a startup, and I was like, wait a sec. You mean like our generation? Like you're in my high, I've known you since 4th grade. Like we can do startups? Like it's not like other people that do startups. So I decided, that was Thanksgiving. By Christmas, I found a developer that wanted to join a startup. He's looking for like the next garage startup. I'm like, I have a garage startup. You should come work for us. He came out and he added the concept of users to low price cards, and we rebranded as Check Out My Cards. So that was like January of 2007. And at the National that year, we set up a booth. we had gone to local shows in the area and gotten a bunch of people kind of familiar with our concept, what we were trying to do.
Yep.
And then we went to the National in Cleveland in 2007. And it was actually kind of the one of the biggest pieces of validation that we're going the right way. Jim Beckett came by and saw what we were doing and got a demo. And he said, there's no new ideas. There's just new execution. Apparently Beckett had this concept, but couldn't figure out how to pull it off. And we had built a lot of tech, and I was tech forward. Like, that was my background as technology, and this was my playground of applying tech to sports. It's literally the software that our employees use. I started writing in 2003. And so I had 4 years of development before launching the service in 2007. So at that point, we had no employees. We were still operating out of the garage. It was a few months later, someone on eBay, they discovered that they liked our concept. And so they bought like 100 auctions on eBay and then told those eBay sellers to ship the packages straight to us. And so normally we'd get like a trickle of packages, and we had everything sent to a mailbox. It was this like mom and pop service, and they're used to getting a few packages a day, and all of a sudden they got like 100 packages, and they said, no more. We're going to charge you $1 for every package, and you cannot tell anybody else to send their packages, because they were handwriting tracking numbers of every package that arrived. And so that was like the impetus to have to go get a building, like go get our first office. So we started with a 2,000 square foot office. Like, this was around January of 2008. At that point, we had two part-time employees. Maybe, I don't know if one of them was full-time yet, but they were coming to the house and actually working from the house. They would package orders, scan cards, and then we got a 2,000 square foot building. Most of it was warehouse. It was right across the street from Microsoft. I was doing consulting for Microsoft, so I left as a full-time employee, but I didn't want to take money out of the company, so I did like part-time at Microsoft. Literally, like at lunchtime, I would switch over, just go a few blocks to our facility, make sure the company's running smoothly. We probably had 6 employees at that time. This is 2008. I think by 2010, maybe even earlier, had maxed out that building and had to go in the business park to something 3 times larger, so 6,000 square feet. And then it was like a couple years later, 2012-ish, we had maxed that out, and we got our 27,000 square foot headquarters, which is where everybody's been mailing their packages. But that was just early days of growing, and it was I think it was in our second facility, we hit 1 million cards, like item ID 1 million. And for me, it was like, okay, if this doesn't work out, I can go back to Microsoft. I can like mail people's cards back and shut the business down. Yep. But once I hit 1 million cards, this is like, there's no going back. Yep. Like, this has to work. And it was in that early days before going to our headquarters, where it's like, I'm all in. And in 2010, I phased out doing consignment or contract work for Microsoft and really focused full time on COMC, and finally got a salary from COMC. And then, that's when it was like, all right, there's no safety net. Like, we're all in. We got to make this happen. Yep. So those were some of the really early experiences on COMC, just the beginning growth. I definitely had a lot of employees that saw what was going to happen before I did. There was my second employee. He had worked in the industry for some distributors and card shops. Yep. And he's like, someday you're going to have a Costco-sized warehouse. I'm like, dang, like, we're right across the street from a Costco. Like, they're huge. Like, 150,000 square feet is a typical Costco. during the pandemic, we moved to a 200,000 square foot facility. That's where the inventory is stored. It's the size of literally, like, we can fit 2 football fields inside our facility. We're like a pixel if you look at us from space, like from like a satellite photo, you can actually see our building. There's lots of stories about the growth, the pandemic. There's so many things that happened. I'll let you steer. I could talk forever.
Well,
yeah.
I appreciate you sharing some of that. This is, I was going to ask you how big, the facility was now. It's like you've got an insane amount of stuff on there. So to understand it's 200,000 square feet is absolutely crazy. But I love the origin story, and I love understanding like how companies that are so big in the industry now have been formed and, have gone through like, the test of time. What were some of the early challenges of trying to build this, this service that is so, so used now, of like, it seems like to me, the easy answer is like telling people like, we'll do all the work for you. Like all you have to do is price it, like send us your cards, trust us that like we'll get them to people, we'll scan them. But like, was that the biggest challenge, or is there something else here in growing this?
So you actually made an interesting comment earlier about forums being so big. Yeah. And the largest forum when you got into the hobby was Blowout Cards. And what happened, this is critical to our growth. Someone started simply posting a message saying, hey, I found the service. This is probably in 2007, 2008. Yep. They're like, I found the service. This is how it works. You send them their cards, you pay them some money, they list stuff for you. I'm going to give it a shot. What do you guys think? And people jumped on him and were like, you're nuts. Like, no one does that. No one pays someone before sending the cards off. You get paid first and then you send the cards off. Like, that's just the way it's done. Yeah. And then he's like, I'm pretty sure I'm not insane. I have a family. I have kids. I want to spend time with my family. This allows me to enjoy my hobby and still have time for my family. And then this thread, people would start using COMC, and they'd take like a screenshot or copy the stats from their dashboard, and they'd post it. And it was just like, it became the most popular thread on Blowout Cards. To the point where they ended up creating a dedicated like channel with all the check out my cards content. Yep. And we got a chance to do a partnership that we've still been doing today, where people can exchange COMC store credit for Blowout Cards gift certificates. But that forum was fundamental to helping sellers understand our model and just them sharing their experiences. And it's interesting, our original name, Check Out My Cards, is my attempt at recognizing, like, I've tried doing sales before. I do not like doing sales. I didn't know anything about marketing, and I just wanted a service that was so good that people would say, please go check out my cards. Yeah. Like, I posted my cards there, go check them out. And I'm like, if I know word of mouth is super powerful, and this model is tricky. Like, I can't force this down someone's throat. Like, no one had done this. I couldn't be like, no. Pay us money, trust us, we'll take care of your, like, it needed to be organic. It needed to be like, people said, no, I've done this. I trust them. You should try this too. And I felt like as long as we kept our customers happy, we would grow organically at a pace that's sustainable. And that was really our focus. I think we only paid for like Google AdWords the first few months. And then after that, it was like for the next 10 plus years, 100% organic growth, just letting, like, we wanted to do a good job for the customers, make sure that we were giving them quality shipping and getting their cards listed timely and doing things accurately and doing all the little things. There, like you mentioned, like what were the challenges in the early days? There's always a million challenges starting a business. Yep. Oh, yeah. Like, I'm sure you know this firsthand, running a card shop and doing content creation. There's always new challenges. So we basically had to solve little problems over and over and over again. Yep.
Yeah, that's
it wasn't like one big thing. It was like all these incremental steps.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the Blowout Card Forums. That was, before social media, that was the place to, buy and sell cards. Like, that was everything in the hobby, I felt like, was there. There's Sports Card Forum. There was a couple other ones, like Beckett had forums back in the day, like early. But, yeah, Blowout Forums were definitely the place to be. Again, just continuing to highlight on the origin story, like, as you think about, like, your creation of, check out my cards, you've made a couple points in this where, like, I view it as, like, it's almost like you're, like, trying to create, like, Amazon for the card world, where it's like you're selling time, right? That's what Amazon sells is time. You don't have to leave. You don't have to do anything. You click a button and it shows up. Like, was that it? Because COMC now, again, I'm not on Blowout Forums, but I see it on Twitter. Like, I know Gabe Card Stacks is a good friend. He's on the podcast regularly. He loves check out my cards. I've been an advocate for this idea that, like, I can buy something when a quarterback goes down. I can buy the backup. I can reprice it, and I can sell it without ever having to touch a card. This ability to flip cards has kind of come from COMC with like, it's almost like day trading. You just buy it, reprice it, and you don't have to touch it, and you can make money from your couch. Was that kind of the intention early on? Was it this Amazon idea to, like, sell time and to give that to the collector? Because you mentioned it with the dad who has a family. What were some, like, why COMC? Like, which, I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. Like, was one of those the reason that you created this more than the other?
Yeah. So timing wise, we started building our service at the same time Amazon was building Fulfillment by Amazon. So it did not exist yet. So we were independently doing the same thing. So it was definitely not inspired by what they were doing, but we definitely pioneered and we went in different directions. They're focused on, like, commodities and, like, getting, like, I ordered a battery from them the other day. Like, it's just like, I need it. I don't want to make a trip to the store. I'll just have them ship it to me. They want high churn. We're in collectibles. Collectibles actually generally appreciate over time. So long-term storage is totally legitimate. If you put something in Fulfillment by Amazon and it doesn't sell within a year, they jack the storage fees way up. They want that thing out of the building. They want to just churn. So we knew that we wanted to build something purpose-built for cards, and it could work differently. Like, we're fine with things being with us for decades. That's okay. Like, that's part of the collecting experience. So that wasn't there's value there, and that's super important, and that's part of our story. But the flipping that you mentioned, that was available on day one of COMC. That was part of the demo I gave at the National in 2007. And that was coming from the EPAC, the ETOPS experience. ETOPS let you buy into these IPOs. You'd get these cards, and you had to sell them on eBay. But it was this awkward listing on eBay. It wasn't instant. And then when you bought something, it might take a day or two to get into your account. It was this weird. I'm like, that's silly. This is just a database entry. I want to be able to, and the UI probably hasn't changed that much in all these years. I wanted the ability for you to, like, when you're buying the card, have a choice to buy it and have it sit in your account, like, ready for shipment. Or I can type in a new price, hit purchase and relist. It's instantly up for sale at a new price. Like, that was part of the original version of time. We didn't even have the ability to make offers at the time. That was it. It was only, like, instant purchase and this purchase and relist. So that was definitely part of the original idea. Like, I was buying stuff on eBay and flipping it on COMC. I figured, like, other people would want to do the same thing and just leave it on COMC. So that was definitely an original part of the service. Our focus has really been on empowering collectors with new technology, new functionality. And that was just a scenario that didn't exist anywhere else. And I'm like, why not? Like, we can do that. Let's do it. So that was 2007. I think I can say I was the first to offer instant purchase and relist with, like, a cloud service.
Yeah, I think that would be true. I can't think of anything else even remotely close to that. I can't think of many other items. Now you can buy and instantly resell in the hobby. It's pretty, mail day focus. I mean, you get something, it ships to you. Like, whether that's, live selling is obviously a big piece of this industry now. you buy through social media, you buy from big brands, but most of them, like, I can't think of hardly any, if any at all, that like offer what you know, currently offer. I think that's the big thing. That's, you know, especially owning a shop and building a company here, that is so valuable to us is the timepiece. You know, while you said you were building it simultaneously as Amazon was building fulfillment, you look at that, for me, that's such a big thing that you offer, is the ability to send everything. You scan, you store, you answer questions about condition, or you notate condition, you ship them. The only thing you have to do is pay for it and price it. And then the ability to buy and resell live. There's a lot of things. So going now towards more, you know, you mentioned it earlier around COVID. You said there's a lot of stories there. We can maybe get into that. But there's clearly so many things I know about that you offer now that you didn't day one. Talk me through maybe some of the last couple years and what you've added to COMC that's been really instrumental in your growth over the last, you know, more so since COVID on.
Sure. So this was actually right at the beginning of COVID in 2000. We introduced auctions on eBay. So we had only done fixed price listings. So we introduced the ability to send something to auction. We're looking at like ways of providing services for people so that they can enjoy the hobby without the hassle. There's so much work you have to do to get stuff listed on eBay, listed online, like managing your inventory. So we just want to make it easy for you. There's another service that we added to let you get your cards graded. We added support for PSA and CGC. We actually had done this with Beckett way back when, way before the pandemic, but we refined that service and brought that online a few years ago so that you could just stay on COMC, send your stuff off to get graded. You don't have to fill out the forms and everything else. We'll just put the card back in your account when it's done getting graded. eBay introduced the concept of live selling. So we took advantage of that, and we allow you to just send your cards off to go on a live stream. There's been an evolution of that, and we're continuing to evolve that. There's other little things that we've done, like we introduced this concept of elite items that have a really high quality photo. And so if you buy a card that doesn't have that and you want to upgrade it to elite, you can do that. We'll go grab the card, take a photo of it, give you that better image. Sometimes you want that if you're going to then sell it at auction and you want to get a premium price for it. So a lot of different things that we've done to just help you from the comfort of your own home, improve your collection without having to like do the work yourself.
Yeah, and I think that is the biggest thing we use Check Out My Cards for now, is the ability to, and we use it as a company here to send stuff in where we can sell it and then use the credit to buy things that make more sense for us. So, one thing I didn't know about for the longest time, you kind of hit on it with the eBay, sending items to eBay auction. But I think one thing that's cool, and I don't know if many people know this because I just learned about it in the last, 6 months or a year, is you can actually link your eBay account to your COMC account. So if you buy something, so when COMC runs auctions, I think they end almost every day. When you buy an eBay auction, like if you go to eBay and you search, the user, whatever the Check Out My Cards user is on there, I think it might actually be COMC. There's auctions ending every day. You can bid on those auctions, and then the credit comes deducted automatically if you link it. It deducts from your Check Out My Cards account, and the card goes to your Check Out My Cards portal. So you can price it on Check Out My Cards, keep it on there, and not have to touch it, although you're buying the card from eBay. I think that is something, I didn't know about it for the longest time, that I think is a cool, a cool feature, especially because there's, I was looking at, there's a 51 or 52 Bowman Mantle, there's PMGs, we're not talking like $5 and $10 cards. We have thousands of dollars in cards ending on a nightly basis that you can buy, use that COMC credit, and then reprice it on COMC and not even have to touch it.
Yeah, I mean, I that's perfectly stated. That's exactly how we intended the service to be used. I love your use case of recognizing inventory shows up at your store. People walk in, they can sell things to you, or at the shows you go to. You get opportunities to buy stuff all the time, but you don't necessarily have the right audience in person to sell it. Like that's like people are trying to usually buy things from you, especially at your store, that are probably local or just generally everybody's collecting. But there's good cards that someone in a different region would pay a premium for. Yeah. And it takes you and your employees time to list things online. And for certain high-end cards, maybe that makes sense. But there's lots of cards that are $10, $20, $30. It's not worth your time to go create those listings. You throw them in a box, you send them to us. We want to encourage people that are benefiting the trading card industry. We want to encourage people to recycle their money and go find other opportunities in the trading card industry. So we offer things that you can do with your store credit that doesn't involve just cashing it out. So one of the things that we really leaned into was these eBay auctions. We're running auctions on eBay and allowing you to pay for them with COMC store credit. You got to bid with your eBay account. We just the reason you probably found out about it recently is we finally made it really easy to link accounts. It was kind of convoluted before, and now you just simply like log in, link your account.
So easy.
And then as long as you have enough store credit in your account, the cards instantly are paid for. You don't have to think about it on eBay. You don't have to go remember to pay. They're just in your account. And then if you got the card because it was a good deal and you just want to relist it and wait for the timing of the market, or maybe you want to send the card off to get graded first, like we give you those tools. But sometimes you're going to buy things because you have a spot in your showcase for it. You want to bring it to your store or to your show. That's great. Use us for that. We want to encourage you to. It's interesting. So many other companies label themselves a vault. We don't think of ourselves. Again, if you think of a vault tends to be one way. You put something in a vault that's not intended to come out for a long, long, long time. Mm-hmm. And you can use us for stuff like that. But we really are trying to help people enjoy the hobby. And a lot of the enjoyment comes from physically holding those cards. So we do not shy away from that. We welcome that. And if you want to take possession of cards, we want to help get the cards to you. We think of ourselves as building out, I keep saying the word infrastructure. It's like the highways. How do we get the cards to your door? Maybe there's a vault that's like, hey, I want to store my high value stuff and I don't want to touch it. But then there's all the other collectibles, all the other cards that I want to put out on my desk. I want to experience, I want to touch, and we want to help you get access to those. So that's totally fine. That's what we expect you to do, and your use case is right in line with what we tried to build COMC for.
And again, like I feel like I'm pitching COMC at this point. It's unintentional, even with the founder here on the podcast. But I look at it as COMC just being this perfect spot for so many people. Like we have some high net worth individuals who we help buy cards for, and when they have stuff, they're like, hey, I don't what do I do with this? I don't want to move it anymore. It's like COMC is a great option for people like that. Again, the time piece is being so big. And it's also, I have people that are like, hey, I'm not really sure I want to sell this now, but I would for the right price. Just don't want to manage it. So rather than list it on eBay and, have to deal with the messaging, what's the lowest you would take, some of that stuff, you can send it to COMC, not have to touch it, not have to do anything at all. You can price it. You're going to pay you're going to pay cents to have it listed, have it stored, have it to be there. Mm-hmm. And if it sells for the price you want, it sells for the price you want. If not, like you still have access. You can still return it home. You can send it to auction. There's a lot, you can grade right from Check Out My Cards. Like there's a lot of things there. So again, could sit here and talk about, the advantages of Check Out My Cards forever. But obviously the market, we've hit on the live selling piece a little bit. Obviously, the market is very different from when you started this 15 plus years ago. As you look at it now, on some of the recent episodes, I've talked about the immersion of non-sport, the immersion of maybe sports or collectibles outside of like the big four, the ones we've always known, the baseball, basketball, football, hockey. Specifically here in the U.S., you have soccer abroad. What are some of those other categories that you would say that have surprised you? You've seen some growth that have really contributed to the growth of, check out my cards.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a step back because it's funny you talk about the big four. When I launched the service in 2007, I think we had one football card.
Wow.
Like, I didn't collect football cards. I didn't collect vintage. We just had a couple vintage cards. We're focused on just building the platform that enables people to enjoy whatever it is that they enjoy. And the other stance that we took is we wanted our catalog to have as many things as possible because we know everybody collects all sorts of different things. We didn't want to just be the big four. And so whatever someone wants to sell, whether it's Magic, Pokemon, Lorcana, if it's recently I saw some Japanese sports car vintage trading cards. Like,
you got it all.
I don't know what the models were, but like we've got like German movie cards from the early 1900s. There's like all sorts of stuff that different people have interest in, and we just want to enable people to get that out there. It's about the long tail.
Yep.
All sorts of different collectibles. So we've always been trying to create the experience for the long tail, and then it's like, okay, whatever people enjoy, that we have inventory for it. We have things that you can go collect. So soccer was one of the first big things that we saw. I mean, it made sense, total sense. Like, it's the most popular sport in the world. Eventually, people are going to want to collect it just like they do all the other stuff. Like, that writing was totally on the wall for soccer. Yeah. I know. I'm really surprised. I am not into like WWE, but like tons of people are.
True collectors.
Yeah, like UFC, golf. Like, there's so many other sports that have become more popular. My personal favorite, and you're very aware of this, is WNBA. Yep. I have loved that for years. I mean, I've been a season ticket holder for the Seattle Storm since 2013. I've collected WNBA cards, even though it was very difficult to back then. Like, there was nothing to, like, there are no packs. You just buy complete sets, and you're like, all right,
yeah,
I have every card that was made this year. Yeah. I would order, like, they'd give autographs that they'd have like 5 different autographs. And it's like, oh, if you buy 5 complete sets, we'll give you one of each autograph. I'm like, cool, I'll buy 10 so that I have like a spare autograph, and I have whatever 10 sets. And they only made 500. I'm like, there's something wrong here. Like, how do I, like, if I wanted to, I could like corner the market here. Like, this is, again, this is the long tail, and not everybody's collecting. But I'm like, someday, if anything changes, this will probably be a good investment. It's turned out to be a pretty good investment. And I think eBay stated during Caitlin Clark's rookie year, WNBA 10x'd their sales volume year over year. I haven't checked on the latest numbers, but I know like the WNBA and women's college basketball have been huge, tons and tons of momentum. Really looking forward to the women getting what they deserve. I think it's a shame that I think I've spent more money on Paige Becker's cards than she earned in her rookie season.
Crazy.
Like, that's like not cool. I have a hot take. There's been a lot of buzz about the collective bargaining agreement for the WNBA, and I know the players want to get a percentage of revenue, and there's been a lot of people saying like, oh, it's just difficult because of the ownership structure. Like the NBA owns a big portion, and it's just like it's not as easy to do that as they can do for the NBA. And I'm like, wait a sec. You know who owns 100% of the NBA? The NBA. You know who has rev sharing? The NBA. Like, we just need a bunch of people in the NBA to say this is wrong. We need to give the women a percentage of revenue. Like, they just need to, they have to align their incentives. So I really hope they get that taken care of. And the women, I want Paige to make more money than I spend on her cards. I think that's pretty reasonable. But yeah, we're here to support whatever trends in the hobby. And every year there's going to be something new. There's nostalgia for old things that come back. All sorts of interesting stuff happens.
So as you're looking at it now, just seeing some of the trends and seeing the way the hobby has evolved to, cater to so many different growing categories. Is there one in particular you've seen on, COMC that has had some pretty rapid growth over the last, 6 to 12 months? I mean, because the hobby is in a very unique state now. Like, obviously, we've talked about it for a few different episodes that I see some very similar trends to COVID, to where there's a lot of big time sales right now. There's a lot of, you've seen the Kevin, O'Leary, like the fund, Topps has taken over the licensing. There's a lot of buzz right now in the sports card world. But there's also major growth in Pokemon, Marvel, Labubu cards got literally announced today. Like,
oh my
you know what I mean? Like, we could talk about so much, but what are you seeing rapid growth in on Check Out My Cards that, I just because I think this is so enlightful for somebody listening that's like, okay, what is this, what is the market doing? Because I don't follow Pokemon on a daily basis, but you might sit here and tell me, Elizabeth Gruna at PSA said they grade more Pokemon cards every month than sports cards. Right. And it's, what is it? Professional Sports Authority. I don't know the official acronym for PSA, but that's a sports card company that is grading more Pokemon. I think your insight to what is growing and what you're seeing on COMC is, helpful and enlightening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we are seeing growth in Magic and Pokemon. We are, I think there's still a long way for us to go to really tap into that market. We are in the process. We actually just created a new store on eBay. Our traditional store is COMC Consignment. And that has all of our sports and non-sports and Marvels, that kind of stuff. And then all the Magic, Pokemon and then we're going to put other TCGs on TCGs by COMC. And so we've seen huge opportunity, huge growth there. There's going to be some new ingestion services coming to help really allow that market to take off. But to be honest, as COMC, we're focused on infrastructure. I think there's a lot of other tools and other companies that analyze the data and see the trends. I wish I was like on the floor watching all the cards going out the door, and I'd give you a better sense of what's leaving. But we're really focused on just providing the infrastructure, no matter what's going to be popular. Things are going to change. We're probably going to get Labubu here pretty quickly.
Yep, sure.
That might become the big thing. But we would love to partner with companies that make it easier to see the trends and help people analyze the data. We definitely have a huge trove of data. And we do publish on our website. There are some pages that show you the hottest players and the hottest sets. That's really cool. And that's kind of like ever evolving. But I would recommend, and there's lots of different parts of the hobby. Our focus is on bringing joy to collectors. And if somebody is finding joy, go after it. If there is a collectible that you feel passionate about, buy that collectible. If you are following a trend, just beware. The trends change by their nature. Yeah. They're called a trend. It's what's popular right now. And there are people that are trying to ride the trends and see opportunities. And that's definitely a exciting part of the hobby. we have to store the cards for the long run. And so we're just focused on like enabling whatever comes in, like it just provide the infrastructure and then let people enjoy the hobby.
I love it. Well, you've mentioned you mentioned infrastructure. We've talked about the origin story. What's what's been happening over the last couple of years, but as you look to grow and as you look to continue to build out, check out my cards. What do you, as you sit here today, what's next?
Yeah, great question. We just launched a couple services at the beginning of the month, October 1st. We introduced some new services we call direct to cash. Okay. So if you have a card that you want to auction off and you want cash, you don't need COMC store credit. Maybe you got a credit card bill you need to pay. Maybe there's a deal you need the cash for. You can use COMC to get cash quickly. It will list an auction within a week or two of the card arriving, and you'll be paid usually within 3 weeks of the card, of like us having the card. Because the auction, it's a 1 week auction. People have to pay for the auction, and then we'll send you the cash right away. So that service is very competitively priced. If you're selling a card that's going to sell for over $1,000, it's just 5%. That's like, if it sells on eBay for $1,000, you get $950 in your account. If it's less than $1,000, it's $5 plus 8%. So really, really competitive price for anything that might sell for $100 or more. And then you can also use that if you have cards already on COMC. So those are called cash auctions. You configure how you want to get paid: PayPal, check, ACH, wire transfer. And then as soon as the auction ends and it's paid for, we automatically issue the cash out, and you don't have to pay a combination of like transaction fees and then cash out. It's all in one, really, really simple. So definitely go take advantage of that. A lot of people have been using us for their lower end cards, and then they'll have other solutions for higher end cards because our fees were never really tailored to that scenario. So this is now the first time COMC has offered very competitive rates, if not best in the industry for high end auctions. There's some other exciting things that we're doing with eBay Live. If you want to send stuff off for auctions, we now have a couple different formats for you. You can do the traditional live selling where every bid like extends the bidding. There's a new service that we offer for things that are relatively inexpensive, and it's just bullet auctions, and they're sudden death. We also have some auctions that run on Thursdays for Gem Mint Night, other exciting things that are going on there. So lots of auction-related goodness from COMC. But this summer, we ran a promotion where people could send us graded cards, and we would waive the ingestion fee. And we got slammed.
I saw the email.
We got over 100,000 cards sent to us, and we are in the process of retooling our ingestion process so that it can handle high volumes of graded cards. And
could you imagine the mom and pop store that would tell you? I mean, could you imagine what they would charge you to handle that many packages? I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, seriously. So all of the graded cards we're going to be able to handle at scale. And then it also ties in nicely to our direct to cash service. If you have a graded high end card, we have that option for you. We also lowered the fees on traditional 7-day auctions. If you just want COMC store credit, it's 4%. So whatever it sells for, we only charge you 4%. There's a minimum of 99 cents to run an auction, but really simple. You used to have money in your account to like pay for the auction. Now you don't need any money in your account up front. You can just consign stuff with us and send it to auction, and we'll just pay you in COMC store credit if that's the option that you chose. So lots of exciting things for high-end cards on COMC, finally tailoring our services to welcome that portion of the industry. We forever have really focused on high volume infrastructure of raw cards. We mentioned 200,000 square foot warehouse. We have actively for sale 40 million cards. There's over 100 million cards that we have the custody over and we're taking care of. It's a lot. I think other vault services it'd be impressive if they had 1 million cards. But we've really focused on raw cards and high volume. But our fees were never tailored towards the high end portion of the market.
Yep.
Now we're ready. We're ready to welcome that inventory. There's some other exciting new technology we're working on. Hopefully we're going to be able to, maybe this is probably next year, we're going to be at shows and be able to ingest cards directly at shows and do some really interesting things to get like auctions live right away, speed up time to cash and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's one thing I would, as a user and someone who has been on the app for a while, I think that's one thing I would give you guys a lot of credit for, is just constantly evolving. I know you've added additional shipping options in there to be able to get cards quicker without having to, pay a little bit of money and it take a long time, or pay a lot of money and it take a short amount of time. Like, you've added different options in there. You've, continued to evolve the submission options. So, I know those have changed a little bit, obviously the Elite being a bigger one, but fresh polls, I think, is one I learned about earlier this year. Just what that does, allowing cards that are newer to get processed quickly, to be able to, engage in the sale on that and earlier in the life cycle of the card rather than, 6 months after it's released. So I think you guys have done, some really, really cool things. And it's impressive to, sit here and see what you guys have built over, a few decades now. It's been pretty cool. So
I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. I didn't realize how long you've been in the industry. I saw on one of your other podcasts that you first went to the National in 2009. You've been you're cornerstone in the industry. That's pretty awesome. So it's my pleasure to be here chatting with you as well.
Appreciate that.
And I'm excited for COMC to constantly listen to customers and find ways to create services that meet the needs. There's a lot more stuff that we're working on. I'm right now in our engineering headquarters. This is in Tacoma. That's actually I can see, you can't see it, but that's Mount Rainier right behind us.
Wow.
So we're actively building a bunch of new functionality for our customers and our employees, and we look forward to bringing new things to you each and every month.
Well, I appreciate the time so much. I do have one final question. This is just more for you as someone who has built something really, really cool, a staple in the industry, and has been a collector for a long, long time. Tim, if you look back on everything, all of the knowledge you've acquired, if you were starting over today, either as a business owner or a collector, I'll take really any piece of advice here, but what would be the one piece of advice you would give yourself?
So, as a business owner, definitely advice that I heard early on that I'm sure you will resonate with is that if you find something you're passionate about, you're going to work through all the ups and downs. Money is not always going to be there. For most startups, they fail because the money dries up, and that's why people were there. When you're passionate about the space, you will plow through. You will find a way because you care about that beyond just the money.
Yep.
And I think that's important just in life in general. If you're just chasing the dollars and the dollars dry up, then you're just going to constantly switch and chase something else. But if you can find the thing that you're passionate about, whether it is just in your personal life, something that you enjoy, or if that's what you're going to do for your career, if you get to focus on something that you're passionate about, it changes the dynamics of everything. There's a reason to stay and a company is successful when the great analogy is it only took 10 years to become an overnight success. Like, you have to wait for product market fit. And if you're passionate, you're going to be there when things change, which in our industry, the first years of the pandemic, things blew up. And those of us that laid that foundation and were ready to capitalize when it got big, okay, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get to that point. But we pushed through because we loved this industry. Yep. So I, as a collector, that's why I encourage people, and I do this personally, I buy things that I enjoy, yep, regardless of the trend.
Yep.
I mean, it's fun. It's so much fun to watch something and be like, oh, I want to buy that because I think it's going to go up in value. But I also, you know what, if it doesn't, I love that player. Yeah. I don't end up holding on to a couple extra rookie cards of that person. And then it's like, you know what, if it goes up, great. If it doesn't, no big deal. I still love the hobby and I'm still enjoying it. So definitely follow your passion.
I love it, man. This has been a lot of fun. I could sit here and talk for forever, but I genuinely appreciate the time today and for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit and chat with us. So thank you again.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I enjoy this.
Thanks, Tim. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are back for another episode of Stock Watch. But today, we're not going to talk up and we're not going to talk down and we're not going to talk about any of those things. We'll save that for another week because this week is officially the release week of the greatest college football product on earth. And we are going to talk about everything Bowman Chrome University football. I've got the one, the only Gabe Card Stacks joining us here, like always. And this man has done some deep diving. He's dove. He's in. He knows this checklist up and down. I feel like I've got a good grasp on it, but my guy, I know, my co-host here is well versed on this checklist. We are going to talk about the teams we like, the teams that got snubbed, the players we missed out on, the sneaky break teams, the best break teams. We're going to talk about everything about this checklist. So, my friend, how are we first and foremost? And are you ready to talk about this amazing checklist, this amazing product?
Yes, I am great. I am so excited to talk today. I wish we had forever to talk about this. This is Christmas Eve, getting my hands on the sweet checklist and doing the deep dive and learning about all these guys, who's going to be a sleeper, just evaluating all that, some of my favorite stuff. Christmas is Friday when this product drops. I cannot wait. This is the best time of the year.
This is definitely that. This is going to be a lot of fun. I know you and I have had some conversations about this checklist. It's been out for a little while now, so we've had some conversations around it. So, excited to, talk about it and some of the additions, some of the subtractions, how it's different, and ultimately what we can expect. And then, when we do a future Stock Watch, we'll be able to really use a lot of these, these players that are, some of the new comps from these new Bowman Chrome release. We'll be able to talk about guys in this checklist that don't have a lot of cards elsewhere. This is a big time release for the college football fans out there. You know how special this is. So I'm excited to sit down and talk about it. So I'll let you've done, like you said, you've done the deep dive. Where do you want to start with this new and extensive checklist?
I want to start my overall impression. I really liked the checklist, and there were, not a ton of guys that I felt like they missed in general. I feel like there's like one or two maybe misses that I'm like, oh, would have been nice to have. But otherwise, at the end of the day, I was like, there's really, outside of, we've had some previews from like the Topps conference at the beginning of the year. Topps Ripped had a nice article that had like 40 or 50 names in there. They've been dropping the Bowman U Nows, which have had some really big names. But there were a lot of guys that really, I think, solidified the checklist once we got the full list. And then probably my favorite part, I think, is 178 Bowman firsts. So that means only 22 repeats. So for me personally, did we need a fourth year of Cade Klubnik? No. Do we need a fourth year of Drew Aller? All those guys, Jalen Daniels, Harold Perkins, Oscar
Tyler Van Dyke, the original.
Yeah, Tyler Van Dyke could have gone 5 for 5, which is crazy. But Yeah, did I need those repeats? No. So I'm glad we kind of cut those out. I love having a Trent Walker out of Oregon State in the checklist over, a guy like Eugene Wilson again. So for me, I like having the Bowman first. I'd rather prioritize those guys. So that was my initial takeaway, because we just have that many more players, that many more schools, collectors that can get involved in this product.
I love it. I would agree with all of that. I think my first original take, looking at the checklist, a couple things. They had mentioned it at the Tops conference in earlier this year around the addition of mascots. I have been a big advocate for this for a long time. I've told you that my kind of my advice on this was there should be mascots. There should be coaches, and there should be some kind of tribute to school traditions. So whether that be, Upper Deck, we've talked about the manufactured patch cards in the past with like 13, 14, 15 Upper Deck and what some of those have sold for and the demand for those cards. Obviously, I don't expect manufactured patches, but the ability to have a prism of the best damn band in the land, or the Skull Session, or the Horseshoe, I can assure you I would be very interested in those rare cards. Like a red color match of the best damn band in the land doing Outscript Ohio. That's like a dream card for me if I could create a card. So the fact that we have mascots in this, I told you I had heard about it in Atlanta at the Tops conference. They had made a point about it. Mascots will be there. So I'm like, dude, here we go. We're going to get mascots. They've got mascot autographs. This is awesome. And then I realized Brutus doesn't even have a card. He's not even in it. He's not even in the thing. So I'm like, well, this stinks. For me, I'm like, as a diehard college football collector, I was distraught. I'm like, I have the Prism Black, 1/1 Brutus Buckeye from 2015, 2016 Prism Draft. So to pair this with a Brutus the Buckeye Superfractor from Bowman Chrome, I'm like, this is going to be awesome. He's got one Tops card, one Prism card. Like, you put these together, and bang, we got the perfect card. We got the perfect pairing. Nope. So that was a little disappointing. The Buckeye checklist in general, obviously, selfishly, like, that is what I care the most about. Like, a Jeremiah Smith Bowman Chrome Superfractor Auto is like my dream card for sure. No question about it. He seems to be Panini exclusive at this point. Nothing has come out. I do not know of anything about that. So he's not in it. Sayan appears to be a Panini guy, and so does Caleb Downs. So 3 of the best Buckeyes appear to be Panini guys. But I will give Tops some credit. They do have a couple Buckeyes on this. James Peoples is on this. Max Clare is on it, transfer tight end from Purdue. Quincy Porter is on this, and I believe Anthony Turbo Rogers is on this. So the Buckeyes have a couple guys, not insane. But looking at the checklist, and, we talked about it after Atlanta earlier this year. When you saw some of the previews, I shared some of the names with you. I know you and I were talking about it. I feel like there are some really, really good names in this checklist, and the lack of repeat guys, I think, is great. To get some names we've never had in this product, and not just some names, 178 of 200 names are brand new. Like, that's not a small amount. This is not a 50-50 split. I don't know if you've done that every year to check those numbers. I would imagine this is substantially more distinguished as firsts compared to, repeat signers. I would imagine this is the best it's ever been. Obviously, I think had this product come out 3 months ago, like, you look at this and they're like, some guys would have sold really, really well then, that will sell really well now, but like have probably dipped a little bit. And then you have the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Pavia and Fernando Mendoza have to be on fire compared to if we did this list 10 weeks ago, where Bryce Underwood and Lenore Sellers will still be big time sellers. But had this come out August 31st, those cards would have, the Bryce Underwood Super would have done, it still will do insane numbers. I still am a believer, as much as it pains me to say it, like, it's not my money, so I don't want to spend it, but I still am a believer the Bryce Underwood Superfractor Auto will be a top 10 Bowman Chrome University sale of all time. Like, I think it will Yeah, I think it will be up there. I actually believe you'll have two of those in this release. I think the Mendoza will be up there, and I think the Bryce Underwood will be up there. Mendoza doesn't play any more ranked teams until likely the Big Ten Championship. He's top 3 in Heisman voting right now. He doesn't have, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he's got many cards, if any cards. Doesn't have a lot out there. IU uniform, licensed, inscription on card autos to 5. His stuff is gonna do numbers. So I would expect you'll get some big time sales from this product. I cannot wait to rip this product.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, Christmas morning, that is Friday for me. I'm so excited. And like you mentioned it, where it's just like when you look at the checklist, they have all the big names that you could think of, aside from exclusives and such. But yeah, just I think a solid checklist. It's deep at multiple positions, and there's a lot of guys that I am excited to look at their prices. That's half of it for me. Half of the fun is just seeing, where does Diego Pavia's prices rank compared to a John Mateer, right? So yeah, just a lot of fun stuff that's going to come down in the next week once prices start to come out and we start seeing some auctions being run. We're getting close to college football playoff talk. We are getting close to the Heisman being finalized. So it's all good stuff.
Yep, I love it. All right, well, let's look at this first. You've obviously broken down the checklist super extensively. You mentioned 178 versus 22 for first and non-first. Break it down by position for me, because I know you've done this. QBs, wide receivers, running backs, defensive. How does that checklist break down by position group?
Yeah, so we'll start quarterback. Quarterback, there are 58 quarterbacks here. I'm going to refer to some. I got 3 pages of notes, Ryan, so we could be here for some time. Man. 58 quarterbacks. I think the top 25, super solid. Like those are your, some of the top 25 just guys in college football at the position, whether that's like fan base or just, their play. So I really like that. It's headlined by Mendoza, Underwood, Mateer, Dante Moore in an Oregon jersey, projected number 1 by a lot of people. Sellers, Pavia, I think are some of the big ones. I love the middle, like the 12 to 20-ish right there, where you got like Sawyer Robertson, Bo Pribula, Haynes King. There's Georgia Tech is 7-0. And number 7 in the country. They could win out. They got Georgia at the end. We'll see. Sam Levitt, I think, is interesting. Kevin Jennings, I'm watching. He's got another year of eligibility. And then just some sleepers here. I'm curious to see Drake Lindsey is a redshirt freshman at Minnesota. Minnesota got blessed in this checklist. They've got like 6 guys in there. Mm-hmm. Drake Lindsey, I'm curious to see what he looks like. Some people love him. I'll be waiting to see. Malik Murphy out of Oregon State, I think, is interesting. Former Texas guy. He started some games there for Quinn Ewers. Goes to Duke, wins 9 games at Duke. You can't win 9 games at Duke just being an average quarterback. So I put some stock into that. They did go 0-7 at Oregon State, and he did just get benched. So I'll caveat it with that. But I'm curious. He's got another year of eligibility. And then Micah Alahado, Hawaii. Fun, crafty little quarterback. I love that. So that's, I think where the quarterbacks kind of stand. I think it's a deep class. And even, the 25 to 58, I think, is still solid. There's some dart throws. I think there's some stinkies out of the group of 5 with the MAC, but otherwise solid quarterback checklist. And that's, I think what people prioritize as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't mention your guy, Pribula for Missouri. I know he doesn't have a ton of stuff, obviously, in the middle of the pack for the SEC. So I would expect he'll be, again, I think the thing when you look at the checklist is there's going to be a lot of guys that, like, you'll have the top guys. You'll have the Mendoza, you'll have the Bryce Underwood, the Sellers, but you're going to have a lot of guys in the middle that I think are going to sell better than people anticipate, especially when you start getting into some of those golds and better. You get in some of the rarer stuff, the inscription autos. Like, I think there'll be some sneaky guys in this, and I think it's headlined by 25+% of this checklist being quarterbacks.
Yeah, guys like Mark Gronowski. I'm sure we'll talk about that. Just top selling teams. But Iowa, I have several people in my comment section, South Dakota State fans, because he was there before, and they're like, I'm excited to collect Mark Gronowski. So we've got even South Dakota fans who want this transfer kid in an Iowa jersey. So like stuff like that just adds insane value.
All right. Well, what's the breakdown for the rest of the position groups?
All right, running back. We got 48 running backs. I think the top 12, super solid. A lot of dart throws once you get deeper into the checklist, but super solid. Ahmad Hardy, I think this kid has like Jeremiah Love potential next year. Like I believe in it. He's a sophomore. He's kind of gotten bottled up the last few weeks, but he was leading the country through the first like 5 or 6 weeks. I think he's going to be a huge chase. My guy, Jonah Coleman, former Arizona guy, he's been balling out at Washington. I really like him for the draft. Jadarian Price, Notre Dame, I think that's a huge one.
Yep.
The best running back duo right now. No Jeremiah Love. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. I love kind of the 8 to 15, Jaden Baugh, Nate Frazier, a couple true sophomores. Darius Taylor, I'm excited about. I have a love-hate relationship with him. He'll go for 130 yards one week, and then he'll finish with 23 the next, and it's super frustrating.
Darius
but
Taylor
I really
from where?
believe in the kid. Minnesota running back, junior, looks good. And then I like a lot of the sleepers here. You've got Dawson Pendergrass. He's hurt. He's been out for the year for Baylor, but I think he's a solid little stash. Wayshawn Parker out of Utah looks good. Carson Hansen, Iowa State. You know who he reminds me of? Carson Steele, just kind of that like hard edge guy that just runs you over. I think they're very comparable. Anthony Hankerson, Oregon State, former Colorado guy, goes to Oregon State, 1,000-yard guy, on track to do it again this year. Running back's got a lot of potential there. Do you want me to go to wide receivers now?
Oh yeah.
All right, let's go to wide receivers. This is the deepest, 59 wide receivers.
Wow.
And I think this is like maybe one of my favorite groups. I think the top 10 of the wide receivers, absolutely elite. Like they've got Denzel Boston's one of my favorite receivers. I've got him outside my top 5. There are just some young guys that they've got that I really like. They've got Jordan Tyson. He's been one of my favorites. He's been balling out. Chris
Jordan
Brazzell
Tyson
out of Tennessee.
is here.
He is here.
Wow.
He's here out of Arizona State. Chris Brazzell, Tennessee.
Yep.
Mario Craver, he's been dominating the SEC this year, transfer from Mississippi State. Dallas Wilson, the freshman out of Florida, he's kind of peaking at the right time. He torched Texas, like 139 and 2 yards 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whenever that was. And then Denzel Boston. The middle of this, man, I love it. You've got the Nebraska receivers, Ja'Cory and Naziah Hunter. Those guys are elite and both only sophomores. So I love those guys. Lewis Bond, I think, is a sleeper out of Boston College. You've got some Big 12 receivers, Chase Roberts, BYU, Josh Cameron out of Baylor, and I think there's one more here. The Kansas State kid, Jace Brown. I think he's super solid. Some sleepers there. Ian Strong, Rutgers, 6'3", increased production each of the last 3 years. And then Trent Walker, 6'3" receiver out of Oregon State. He's been balling out for 4 years. He's been doing it. I believe in him. I love the wide receiver group a lot, Ryan. A lot.
Yeah, there's a couple guys on there you didn't mention that I think will sell pretty well. I know you're probably not as big of a believer. We'll get into that in a second. But Nick Harbor, I believe that's right. Nick Harbor, the 5-star wide receiver from South Carolina, incredible speed. Obviously a 5-star kid. I think you love to point out he has more stars than touchdowns. I think that's your fun fact of the week, usually every single week. But it's South Carolina's, again, we'll talk about them, I'm sure, a lot on this, just because they have some big names in this, some big 5-star guys. Not necessarily the production, but they have a guy, a handful of guys with some big time, potential. So what else you got on the list? That's got to be most of it. I'm assuming defense.
Yeah. So tight ends, actually, there are 12 tight ends. I don't think they missed on a single tight end. I love this. They got 12 of the top 20 tight ends in the country, I think. Really solid group. You got your boy Max Clare. He's been picking it up lately. RJ Maryland, an absolute monster out of SMU. He kind of gets hurt every now and then, but he's a monster. He reminds me of Harold Fannin, who's actually balling out right now, but I think they're very similar in a way. Who else do I love? Eli Stowers out of Vanderbilt's a solid one. And then Tradez Green, LSU. This kid's 6'7", 250, and man, he's a machine. So I really like Tradez Green there. Yeah, so he's been a monster. Matt Lauder out of Boise State. If he had a decent quarterback, I think he could be putting up All-American numbers. Guy that I like. So tight end I like. And then, let's go right to defense then. People will say, I hear this all the time. College cards don't sell. Defensive guys don't sell. Well, you know what? They got 22 guys in here, and they got like 18 of the top defensive guys in the country, just straight up All-Americans. Some of the best in the country.
Yep.
Dylan Stewart, who I do like. He's a great pass rusher. He's my number 1 defensive player. We'll
Yep.
talk about South Carolina. Again, we've brought up the other two guys in the checklist already. Mateo Uyunglele out of Oregon, awesome player. Keldrick Falk, great edge rusher out of Auburn. Colin Simmons at Texas. Texas has a loaded defensive group.
Yep.
Michael Taff, unfortunately injured for like the next 2 or 3 weeks, but he's an All-American former walk-on kid. Anthony Hill Jr., he's an All-American linebacker out of Texas. There's D'Angelo Pons, Indiana. That's going to be a fun card to chase, I think. Trey White, SDSU, Jaden Virgin Morgan, Boise State, just some of the group of 5 guys they got, super solid. Coy Parrish, I completely forgot about him.
There you go.
Minnesota, the next Travis Hunter. His leaf odds do like $100 right now. So
yeah, he's gonna sell for a lot. Like that's Cooper DeJean 2.0 is what that is.
Yeah, and so that's gonna be a sneaky value bin play for sure. But there's 18 guys that I'm like, man, these are like stars on defense.
Yeah.
And they almost hit them all.
Yeah, I think you got to give a ton of credit to Tops and the team producing, Bowman Chrome for the names and the quality they have on the defensive side of the ball. Like you said, you go back to some of these years with some of the early Bowman Chrome, and there's some, as you say, there's some stinkies on those, defensive autos back in the day. There's some rough ones. And you look at the checklist this year. I mean, Dylan Stewart is an animal. He's so good. You got a couple of the guys, like you said, from Texas. I think Coy is going to sell incredibly well. I might be really close to telling you he's a top 10 selling guy in the entire product. I think his stuff is going to sell really, really, really well. And I think he's going to be like fringe 7th quarterback, type sales, 6th quarterback type sale. I think he's gonna sell pretty well for what for the position he plays, and how that usually translates to the card market. But yeah, I think obviously it's good to see that this checklist for defensive guys is not 60 people long in the third, defensive tackle at Michigan State is not in the product, right? I think that's a big thing. So yeah, it's one of the things that stands out to me is the quality at some of the, quote unquote lesser positions, the ones that just normally don't sell as well, tight end and defense. And there's a lot more first than non-first. I think that's the big thing for around this checklist is you're going to have a lot of guys that are getting their first Bowman cards ever. It's not going to, like you said, it's not going to be the Aller, the Klubnik, the Tyler Van Dyke, some of those guys for the 7th time. So yeah, feel pretty good about it. But where do you want to take this next?
You want to go to breaks, misses, winners, losers?
Let's do winners, losers. Let's go there because I think this could be fun. So, winners being the teams that got a lot of their guys in. I'll let you tell me what it is. So, who do you view as the winners in this?
Okay, so you go a lot of different ways. Like you could get some of the top names. Like, well, I joked about Minnesota. Like Minnesota's got like 6 guys in the checklist somehow. So that's just good for them. But I think like South Carolina, I know it's probably the top team right now, but like to have three of the most hyped players, I get it. I'm not a Lenora Sellers guy, I'm not a Nick Harbor guy, but there's no denying the fact that those are just 3 of the most hyped guys. And you get Dylan Stewart, who was a freshman sensation last year. So just having 3 of the best and most hyped up players in one checklist, I really like. I'm gonna go. You go a lot of different ways, Ryan. I'm gonna go. Let's go Vandy, Diego Pavia, I think just headlining that. Eli Stowers, all-conference guy at New Mexico State, all-conference guy at Vandy now. He'll be a solid name for the draft at tight end. And then Cedric, I'm blanking on his last name, but Cedric Alexander maybe. He's been doing it at that level for a while, so I think that's a fun little group right there. And Vandy, like again, we're talking a time where their football teams ranked higher than their academic standings. Like Vanderbilt collectors, if they're out there, like this is the best product that they've ever seen. So good for Vanderbilt. Good for them there. I'll go Missouri. I think just getting Bo Prabula and Ahmad Hardy as well. I think that's just a solid 1-2 punch. 2 guys that return next year. One thing to watch, Eli Drinkwitz is a hot name for all these college football openings right now. Does he bring those guys to a bigger school? Does he go to Penn State, and are they the faces there? So I think those are kind of some fun
Pagula back
teams
to
there
Penn State would
that I
be.
like.
You say Vandy or Missouri?
Vandy and Missouri, both.
Where does Eli coach?
At Missouri.
Gotcha. Prabula going
So,
back to replace Haller, transferring back to
Yeah.
Penn State with his new coach. That would be insane.
Yeah, with Ahmad Hardy too, who I think is going to be awesome next year. So those are some winners. There's a lot of winners, Ryan. I really like just some of the fun teams, and we can get into that when we get into breaks. But lot of solid winners for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at I think a lot of my winners in this from like the way I look at this is like from like the collectability piece is, if you are a college collector, right? Obviously, we're not talking about this in terms of like, buying these guys to flip per se. Like there's going to be opportunity to do that, especially with like performance based and more prospecting. But a lot of this from like, it's just really the collectability of this for me. So I look at it as, I obviously wish Brutus Buckeye was in the checklist. So in terms of winners, like South Carolina has 3 big time players in this. One of the top wide receivers, one of the top quarterbacks, the top defensive player, and they get a mascot, right? And they get a mascot. Like if you are a South Carolina collector, you won. You won this. You have the best checklist in the product from an overall team perspective. There's no ifs, ands, or buts for me. That's kind of the winner. I think there's a lot of other teams on here that I wouldn't say are winners. Like I don't think it's hard to put anyone in the same. I don't think it's easy to put anyone in the same category as South Carolina because they got it so good. But you look at the rest of these, and you understand that like Oregon has a mascot of the duck. Oregon naturally, like the college stuff, we've had no problems moving. You get Dante Moore in his Oregon his uniform. Got a couple defensive guys. Obviously, DeCorian Moore is not in this. The 5-star wide receiver. That would definitely be one of the misses of this product. But you still have a couple guys. You've got Boomer and Sooner from Oklahoma. John Mateer is in this. So like you can see a couple of these teams have some fun stuff to collect in the mascots, the mascot autographs, and then a couple big time players. Miami's got a mascot, LSU, Kentucky, Georgia Tech, the Dogs. While I am not a big Gunnar Stockton guy, Georgia has a couple guys on the checklist. They have, a mascot card that Georgia's going to be, one of the top selling teams for sure. Buster Bronco, Boise State, Alberta from Florida. So what I think is worth noticing is Alberta and Albert have separate cards on the mascot checklist. I thought that was kind of cool. It's I just don't think it's even fair to say any team got it better than South Carolina, just from an overall perspective. I think the Missouri one is a good one with Prabula and Hardy. Pavi is a big one. And honestly, IU's probably a good one. With the season they're having and the ability to have cards of those players, obviously we'll get into one of them being excluded on the checklist that I think we both wish would have been on there. But for a school like Indiana, that's not normally in these conversations around top selling teams in a college football checklist, to have a moment now where you have one of the most desired college coaching candidates right now, probably of anyone in college football. It's obviously not going to happen now with his recent extension, but you've got the ability to collect 1A or 1B in the Heisman Trophy race, who happens to go to your school. You've got Pons on defense. I think they have one other guy. You'll know it way better than I will. But just the ability for like those for IU fans to be able to collect them, I think that's a win. So, in terms of losers, I this should go without saying. Like I don't even know if I need to say that Ohio State is the biggest loser on this checklist. Just no mascot is one of the biggest college football fan bases in the world. I'm not oblivious to that. You got a 5-star guy in Quincy Porter. Like that's obviously cool. That's probably who I'll go after the most. Max Clare is cool, but he's a transfer kid. Yeah, and no Brutus. I can't think of a team that probably missed out on more. Just, you even look at Michigan, and while they don't have a couple of their key guys, especially Justice Haynes transferring to Michigan. Bowman, I think Topps has done a pretty good job of that in the past with like a Dante Moore, with like a Bo Nix, where guys transfer to another school after having a card previously. To not have a Michigan card for Justice Haynes seems like a miss. I don't think Andrew Marsh is in this either, but they obviously have Bryce Underwood, so there's a win there. So for Ohio State to miss out on that kind of stinks. So I would tell you it's Ohio State. I would then tell you it is. The two obvious ones for me are Ohio State and Notre Dame. The last year's national champions. I think the single biggest miss in the entire product, if I have to remove Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith is the single biggest one. If he is willing to sign, there's no amount of money I would tell you that Topps shouldn't pay for what his stuff will sell for. The attention it would bring, I can tell you, I would have a ton of interest in that card. I would be very competitive in terms of bidding on that card. He's going to be the greatest wide receiver to ever play at Ohio State. So that does a lot for me. If I got to take Ohio State out of this, the single biggest miss is CJ Carr. This is, in my opinion, one of the best pure passers in the country. He's going to be really good. I'm a believer that Notre Dame, who's a relatively young team, is going to be one of the top 3 teams in the country next year. You'll bring a lot of guys back. You get Jadarian Price, that's obviously cool. To not have Jeremiah Love as a second, a returning signer. I know you mentioned a couple guys to me before that didn't sign. Again, you just, college football so much, deeper than I do. But to not have CJ Carr in this, I look at Notre Dame as one of the big misses as well.
Yeah, I agree. No, yeah, CJ Carr, I think, was just the most miss for sure, which is disappointing. But after that, I would say in terms of misses, he was just the biggest one for sure. And I think there's a drop off, but still some other guys. But Notre Dame, they do get Jaden Greathouse. He's a guy who balled out in the college football playoffs last year. I was super high on him. He did have autos in Pulse that I was buying up. He hasn't really done a whole lot this season, but I do like Boubacar Traore, their defensive edge. He looks pretty good. He's young, only a sophomore, so I do like him.
But they didn't get your linebacker that you had in the value box play a couple weeks ago, did they?
Correct. They did not get Kingston, or I really like Bryce Young. He's the other defensive end. Leonard Moore, one of the top corners in the country. He would have been nice to have. So there were a lot of names that they definitely could have got, but for one reason or another, just not on there. So I agree with you, Notre Dame, Ohio State. And then if I may go number 3 here, I would go Alabama as the third, just another big brand, been dominant, the best program in the last decade. And they get Zabian Brown or more, one of the two. It is Zabian Brown. He's a solid player, all conference, going to be very solid, but not going to, sell breaks for this kid. Ty Simpson, all right, he's in the driver's seat for number 1 pick, Heisman, cool. But then Jeremy Bernard. So out of the 22 non-first, they got 2 of them. So they've already just had their first. There were probably a lot of guys. Isaiah Horton is a guy I would have loved. Bray Hubbard would have been one of the solid ones on defense. So just to only have 3 and then 2 repeats, I kind of feel for Alabama.
Especially when Keelan Russell is not in it, considering he's in Panini. He's in the a few different Panini products, most notably the National Gold Packs, where he has Nebulatos and such there. So he would have been a guy, just being such a big time quarterback prospect, that, especially the younger guys, like, because if you look at it, like Pavia, Mendoza, Prabula, well, a lot of those guys are not like first year guys. Like Bryce Underwood's a first year guy. Like getting those guys earlier in their college career, I think is helpful. I think it gives you more opportunity to really prospect and buy these guys as like 4-star, 5-star freshman guys who are going to redshirt behind, in a situation like the Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, where it's like, you've got a guy in the waiting, they've got a guy there, they don't need to put him in. Eventually he'll get his turn and he'll, have an opportunity. So to be able to buy Keelan Russell when Ty Simpson is projected number 1 pick, projected Heisman Trophy winner in the SEC, projected winner of the SEC. Like he's on the right path. So Keelan Russell's a thing in the like he's off to the side. So while he'll sell well because he's a 5-star guy, one of the top quarterbacks in the country, to be able to buy his stuff in waiting, I think would have been nice. So I I can get behind the Alabama as a miss.
Yeah, for sure.
Who would you say? Who would you say are the top misses in the entire product? Not from a team perspective, but if we look at this as the 5 to 6 guys we could have had in the product that did not make it. Who were some of the top on the list for you?
Yep. So putting, exclusives aside and such, like the guys who are, we don't know who is exclusive and who isn't, but, CJ Carr, obviously the number one. Personally, I would have loved to have seen CJ Bailey, the quarterback at NC State, big 6'4" kid, 2027 draft. He's getting some buzz already. NC State, they're kind of frustrating to watch, though. Elijah Surratt, you hinted at that earlier, Indiana. Yeah. If Elijah Surratt were in there, I think Indiana would have been up there with South Carolina in terms of breaks. You got elite with D'Angelo Pons and then Surratt and then Mendoza and his rise. Yep. So I just think that one is tough. He should be in the conversation for top 4 wide receivers in the draft. I think Deuce Robinson would have been a fun one. Huge wide receiver at Florida State. He signed with USC. He was a 5-star baseball and football guy coming out of high school. And he's 6'6", massive, and he's going to be a fun player to watch and just a big target. So I think those are kind of the ones. Group of 5 wise, I'm a huge group of 5 guy. I'm a sicko. I'm watching football Tuesday through Thursday night. I'm watching Kent State and Toledo. That's what I enjoy. I do think that they missed on a lot of group of 5 guys. Like I would have loved to have seen Colton Joseph, quarterback at Old Dominion. You could go Ted Hurst, Georgia State, wide receiver. UNLV would have been a great team to get a lot of these last chance you guys. Anthony Collins-Ray has been doing it. Jaden Thomas at running back. At North Texas, would have loved to have seen a stab at one of their quarterbacks. I know Mestamaker kind of came out of nowhere. They had Reese Poffenbarger. I feel like he could have gone with either one, to be honest. Braylon Braxton, Jalen Rayner, some Sun Belt quarterbacks, Maverick McIver.
Guy just naming them, just going head-to-head Mel Kiper style. Just nobody does it better. Man. These sound like you could just be making up these names, and I'd just be like, yeah, dude, yeah. Yeah, bro. I watched the North Texas game, dude. Yeah, they just sling it, and you're just like, yeah, dude, just firing them off. This guy's the best.
I might have made up Maverick McIver right there. You don't know. But yeah, there's just a lot of guys that like back in, I don't know when this checklist is curated, February or March, but like those are some guys that I would have been like, yeah, those are, compared to like Joe Labus out of Western or Central Michigan and, Andrews out of Tulsa. I'm like, Kirk Andrews or Kirk Francis. Not for me. So those are the guys. And then, one thing on Twitter, I try to get as many people's thoughts as possible. A lot of people were just mostly kind of bummed out about the freshmen that weren't included, which to me, I think that's a good sign with the checklist. Like if we're just upset about some of these breakout stars, like Malachi Toney, no one cared about him 10 weeks ago. JKS, probably not a lot of people care. I know he's highly ranked, but probably not a lot of people. Yeah, probably not a lot of people buying his cards back in July if he had them, right? So even like Bear Bachmeyer, I really, I've been buying them up.
Malik
but
Washington.
We're asking about those names. Yeah, Malik Washington's another one where it's like if that's where like most of our pain is, I feel good about the checklist in the entirety. If it's like, oh, we missed on the top 5 freshmen in the country.
100%. Like, and I think that's the way you have to look at this checklist is I don't think Topps missed on a lot of the guys they, could have missed on that are like the guys that were going to be good, right? Like they got most of them. If Julian Sand is Panini exclusive, you can't get Julian Sand. So like, it's not like they didn't want Julian Sand. He just isn't available. So in terms of like my misses, it's not necessarily who they could or couldn't have gotten. Obviously the freshman thing is a huge piece of this. I would love, as a college football collector, I want there to be, I'm okay with a 280, 275, 300 card checklist for sure. Give me a bigger checklist. Give me more freshmen, more opportunities to really prospect guys. I enjoy that. Especially if you can get, what is Bowman Chrome? Is it 1 or 2 autos per box in hobby? 2? It's usually 2 for hobby, right? Yeah. So 2 for hobby. I was like, if it was like, I'm thinking like, do you make it 1 auto and bring the price down to like not, you know, $99, $79. But I think honestly, I want the 2 autos, to be honest, because I'm just thinking, like, can you increase the checklist and add more freshman guys? Because like Bo Jackson at Ohio State is one that comes to mind. Malik Washington is one that comes to mind. I think some of the bigger names I look at in terms of misses, you know, I've said 2 of them before for sure. Jeremiah Smith is the best football player in the country. If he is available, you know, he's got Onnit autos, he's got Onyx autos, he's got, I don't know if he's signed the Onyx autos, he's in redemption, and then he's got plenty of Panini stuff. We had Marvin Harrison. I've built a cool Marvin collection, so to not have the best wide receiver, the best player in America is disappointing. And then CJ Carr. It's going to be one of the biggest names going into next season. There's no doubt about it. Assuming he stays healthy, that's one of the biggest names in 2026 college football. And then, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's Trinidad Chambliss, the quarterback at Ole Miss. Again, just kind of the story behind him. You know, I know they started out a little better. They who'd they just lose to? Georgia? Was it just Georgia? They just lose to Kirby Smart in Georgia. So he would be on there for me. Jacorian Moore is another one, as a guy that was, I think, originally committed to Ohio State, ended up flipping. That's a big time wide receiver. And then again, it just goes more into, you know, some of the freshmen. So I think overall it's a good checklist. Will probably be the least collected one for me. But I still think there's going to be a ton of demand for some of these top names. You're going to see some consistent $100 plus sales out of base autographs from guys in this checklist. And I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. So, you know, with the selling part of this, with you know, some of those top chases, how do we look at this from like a break perspective? What kind of stuff can you tell me about, like, if we're looking at this from joining breaks, some of the winners or the bigger teams, maybe some of the sleepers? How does it look from like a break perspective?
Yeah, so I got 3 groups. I got just your top hitters. If you're just chasing for the big hits, big names, I got that. I got some fun teams, kind of some power teams, and they've got a good mix. And I've got some cheap sleepers. Hopefully, we'll see. I don't know about the prices, but breaks. The big break, South Carolina, obviously. I've got LSU up there. I just think they've got 4 really high end guys. They got Nussmeier, Whit Weeks, one of the top linebackers in the country. Trades Green, I talked about him. He's a 6'7" tight end, and then Michael Van Buren. If you want like that 1 year stash and hold type guy. He's been sitting there. He was at Mississippi State, started some games. Now he's been learning behind Garrett Nussmeier. He better hope that they don't make a head coaching change, because I imagine that was part of the plan. Like, hey, transfer, sit behind Garrett for a year, and then you're the guy next year. If that, you know, if they move on from Kelly for whatever reason, you know, then that probably goes out the window. But I got them up there. Michigan, you're just Bryce Underwood hunting there. Indiana with, you know, Mendoza, Pons. They've got BB Jr. He's out for the year. He's their running back, but you're still just chasing Pons and Mendoza. Oklahoma, very loaded. They've got Mateer. You tell me they've got some mascot cards. What I should do, I should rank all the mascots. I rank all the position groups. Now I got to rank all the mascots.
That would be electric.
Oklahoma... with Oklahoma, they've got a lot of defensive guys. They've got Isaiah Sategna. I think he's pretty solid at wide receiver. I talked about Vandy. I think we talked about Texas. They've just got 5 All-Americans on defense on that group. Jack Endries. So that's kind of my top tier list. This is my favorite part, but I'm just more of a value, fun guy. Just some sleepers here. I'm going Missouri. I talked about them. Baylor, I think, is interesting. Sawyer Robertson, to me, one of those guys no one's really talking about. Is he the Jaden Daniels, the Cam Ward of this year's class, perhaps? I don't know, maybe, but I like Sawyer Robertson a lot. He leads the country in passing. They've got Josh Cameron, the running back Bryson Washington, only a sophomore, and I think he had 1,000 yards last year as a freshman. Texas A&M, you get Marcel Reed again. Do I need it? No, but I'll take it. Casey Concepcion, one of the top receivers in the country. Terry Bussey, he was the #1 athlete in the 2025 class, so just a fun little electric player. And then Mario Craver, I think, is a solid guy. And then Notre Dame, we talked about. ASU, Arizona State, Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson. That's a fun duo. That's elite right there.
Are these your sleepers, sneaky teams?
These are like my fun, like they're like mid-tier teams that I think will be fun, like for anybody to kind of join in on. So,
do you have like a sleeper section? Is that what we're calling this?
No, I've got another sleeper section later.
Because I'm curious. I thought this was sleepers. I was like, we don't have anybody on the sleeper list. No, that's the same. So
no. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're on the fun teams. Notre Dame, I think, is still fun. Not the best, names that you wanted. Arizona
Yep.
State with Levitt and Jordan Tyson, that is elite duo right there.
Yep.
Those could be future first round guys. Nebraska, I really love Nebraska, man. Two sophomore wide receivers. These guys are elite. Ja'Cory Barney and Isaiah Hunter. They're fun players. They're electric. I really like them. And then Washington, very similar to ASU, just a nice little duo. Denzel Boston, Jonah Coleman. That's a super fun combo. Like you're getting two elite names. There's not a lot of filler there. I really like that. So I'm ready to go to my sleepers if you are.
Well, I think one of the fun teams I think I would add to this, I think is Oregon. And whether you call them a sleeper team or a fun team, if Oregon, I understand these are big ifs. Like we're playing the if game. Oregon doesn't lose to Indiana. That's a top 3 player in the entire product. He's Heisman Trophy consideration. I mean, beat Indiana, beat Penn State. Like again, the Penn State one doesn't look like it did a couple weeks ago, but playing the whiteout game in Penn State is still like that's not an easy place to play. He just happened to send Penn State down a path they did not want to go down. But to be able to get a couple other guys there, is it Ugalele on defense?
Yeah, he's elite. He's my number 2 defensive player.
Right, so like you've got a couple guys there, and to be able to get DeCorian Moore at kind of like that loss of value, you wouldn't have had if this came out a month ago. Like you wouldn't have been able to get him at that for a guy that's got like NFL considerations. And I'm just a believer. Like Indiana does not want to see Oregon again. It's hard to beat a team twice. They do not want to see Oregon again. I think Oregon's going to win the rest of their games. I think they're going to get in. They'll have. What's Oregon got? 1 loss?
Yep.
Right? Like they lost to Indiana,
Indiana.
At home by less than, 10 points. I think Oregon's going to get in, and I think there's some potential future value out of Dante Moore. So I think that is I think that's one I would add to kind of that fun, maybe sleeper team. The sleeper teams I have are, not as big of names as Dante Moore. So I'll let you get into yours, and we'll see where we compare on that.
Yeah, no, I'm in on Mateo Younglele. I'm that should be added to the fun teams. I agree. All right, cheap. I don't know about cheap, but just sleeper teams to look out for if you're trying to, hey, last few spots. Hey,
kind of like
I think these are pretty good value.
Kind of like a value box team.
So,
if you're going to look at a team from like a value box perspective where somebody might overlook them in a break and just be like, oh, do you want this team? And most people are like, no, why would I want them? I feel like this is going to be a sneaky spot for some people.
Yes, yeah. So I'm going to start with Utah, just Devin Dampier,
one
of my favorite guys in college football. 19 rushing. There were TikToks this summer that he was the next Lamar Jackson, and he hasn't used his legs like he did at New Mexico. He had 19 rushing touchdowns, I think like 1,400 yards, but I've been following his recruitment for a while. He's a very fun player, and you get Wayshawn Parker, transfer from Washington State. He's fun. He's splitting his carries right now with a true freshman right now, but I like the upside there. I talked about him. Oregon State, I think, is just I think a lot of people just sleep on Oregon State with Malik Murphy and Trent Walker. Trent Walker, big 6'3" receiver, been doing it for 4 years. Maybe the cat's out of the bag on this one, but like SMU with Kevin Jennings and RJ Maryland, I think that's like they're borderline fun, borderline value. I think he'll probably still sell for a decent amount. This is Kevin Jennings, but I like RJ Maryland. Rutgers, I think, is sneaky if you want to go Ian Strong. Solid.
The SMU one is interesting, just being a year removed from the CFP. Again, like you look at the way last year ended and to now, probably like that Dante Moore thing where there's a little bit of value built in there, to where peak would have been to where it's probably at now. So I like that. Like I would look at Oregon the same way as that, like fun sleeper type potential. Where just not being as good as maybe some of the expectations were, just whether it's a slipping like Oregon did, I think there could be a little bit of value there. I actually don't think we had many crossover. The Utah one is definitely one of my top 3. I'm not surprised by that, but there's 2 I'm actually really surprised you did not put on your sleeper list. One is Hawaii, right? Hawaii. Shout out to Colt Brennan, rest in peace, Colt Brennan. Hawaii stuff sells. There's these random college football teams who don't have a ton of collectible guys, and NIL has changed this so much, right? You look at this from like I think of this a lot with like a Colt Brennan, a Carson Wentz, North Dakota State type thing, where it's not every day these guys go pro, and if you are a North Dakota State guy, have somebody to collect. Carson Wentz gave you that. Carson Wentz college stuff in the beginning sold insane. Like Carson Wentz cracked ice, contender strap picks autos were nuts in 2016. I ripped cases of that, chasing Zeke, Joey Bosa, Michael Thomas, Darren Lee, Cardell Jones, Braxton Miller. Like, that was my stuff. Michael Alahado, did I say that correctly? Mm-hmm. Right? I think Hawaii has, Hawaii have 2 guys?
Yeah, so they've got, so I had a group of 5 sleepers, or I guess I already talked about Oregon State, but yeah, Micah Alahado, he's been elite. He was 3-time state champion at Bishop Gorman High School, one of the most elite high schools in America. Max Preps National Player of the Year as a junior.
Shout out to Tate Martell.
Ashlock. Yeah, shout out Tate Martell. Pofele Ashlock, wide receiver. He's out of Texas. He had like 800 yards as a true freshman. Last year they just had some quarterback issues, I guess, and then this year still doing it. So yeah, Hawaii definitely up there. 2 more group of 5 teams that I want to shout out. San Diego State University. I'm really intrigued by this Trey White kid. I want to see where his prices go. And then also FAU, Florida Atlantic, Caden Veltkamp. They've, Clint Trickett and their whole staff and everything, they've been like, oh, this is, going to be Western Kentucky of Florida. They haven't quite lived up to that, but I think he's still only a junior. He'll be slinging it around next year, I imagine. Hopefully they improve. First year on that staff, so hopefully second year is better.
I cannot believe you did not say Georgia Tech. I just can't believe it. I thought we were getting the Haynes King 7-0 Georgia Tech. Like I thought that's where we were going with this. Like I think that's I was expecting it to be Georgia Tech. So those are my 3: Utah, Hawaii, Georgia Tech. I think those are going to be some of the fun ones. I go back to if I had one more for the fun sleeper type combo, same type situation, I would say Washington. I think Washington has a couple guys on there. Jonah Coleman. Let's say Denzel Washington.
Denzel Boston.
Oh, Boston. That's right. Denzel Boston, Washington. They've got a couple guys on there that, again, probably sell a little bit better with a win against Ohio State or actually beating Michigan. But the team's got 5 wins already. I doubt they're going to get into the CFP at this point, but they've looked really, really good in most of their games, except when they played Ohio State or Michigan. So some sneaky value there, some like elite talent from again, similar to South Carolina, elite talent, lack of big wins. Like I don't, more production than a guy like Nick Harbor. Like Nick Harbor hasn't obviously produced like a Jonah Coleman has. Because when Washington doesn't play Ohio State or Michigan, they have like video game numbers. So a lot of potential for a team like Washington, but I still think like if you're getting in a break and you're looking for a sleeper team, the Hawaii, Utah, and Georgia Tech ones are just ones that I just like immediately circle as like sneaky potential. The Minnesota thing is really another one. Like if you don't really know ball, like this so much better than anybody I know. Like the Koi Parrish one is a really interesting play because I don't know if enough people know about him nationally quite yet. He's going to sell really well. And he's definitely going to be like, if we took like, we used to do this thing back in Card Talk back in the day, shout out Tyler, Lou and Jay and Court and everybody at Card Talk. We used to do like a play of the week. So like we'd have users just submit like value boxes or flips or whatever. And, if we still had that going, like I could tell you, we'd get some Koi Parrish autos found in a value box at like a local card shop, like a true gold auto for $5 that somebody sold for, $175 on eBay, or a red for $40 with a, row the boat inscription that sold for like $500. Those kind of things are going to happen with Koi Parrish autos. I feel pretty strongly about that.
Yeah, that's a loaded team. Georgia Tech I had on like my sleeper. They're like borderline fun team, cheap sleeper. Again, I don't know cheap, but two other teams that if you're just looking to fill, BYU, LJ Martin, Chase Roberts. I think that's a solid one.
And
And
that's a
then
good
Duke,
team.
Darian Mensa.
That's a CFP team
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. So and yeah, I don't know. Are they going to command the respect and price? I don't know. But then Duke, I think also just with Darian Mensa, you're only getting one guy.
Yep.
But I think that's also just like I could see people dismissing Duke because it's Duke. But that might be the best 4-3 team in the country in my opinion. So that's where we're at on Duke.
All right. Well, if we sit here right now, we look a month out, or let's look a week out. Let's look a week out. Who are your top 5 selling base first autos a week from now?
Fernando Mendoza.
Aligned.
I'm gonna ride with that.
Yep. Aligned.
I'm not a huge Bryce Underwood guy, but I hate that he's heating up right now. And they just found this Andrew Marsh kid who's been sitting on their bench. They're maybe in the mix for the college football playoffs. They got to beat Ohio State for that to happen. So we'll see. But Bryce Underwood, I think, is up there in a gauntlet right now. But I might go John Mateer. We're going to find out a lot about Oklahoma. I think he's up there. Gosh, man, then it gets tough because then you go Dante Moore and Lenora Sellers. So I guess is that 5? Yeah, Dante Moore and Lenora Sellers. Then
okay, so take out Sellers. Take out Sellers because he's not a first. He will sell really really well, but just for the sake of the argument, just the true first, not the 22 returning guys. Even though he switched teams, who would else would be up there? I feel like you're missing an obvious one.
Diego Pavia.
Yeah. I think I'm aligned on that list.
Was that the obvious one?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think so.
cool.
Yeah. I would tell you, like, he's probably above Mateer at this point in the season. Right this second as we record this podcast, I would tell you Pavia is probably 4 and Mateer's probably 5.
Yeah, I'd agree with that just because of Heisman consideration, and Mateer had the injury. So I'll go, I like Pavia there.
Yeah, I think Pavia is going to surprise. He honestly, some of his better stuff might even do better than a Lenora Sellers because of where their teams are right now. I just don't see any world where the 1 and 2 are not the same person for the foreseeable future. I don't see any way we look at this a month from now and we recap the first month of Bowman Chrome U and we don't sit here and say Mendoza and Bryce Underwood aren't 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree. Those guys are going to sell boxes, and it's going to be fun to chase. And man, that's what we're hoping for when we rip on Friday.
Can't wait. Well, we will be live. We'll be ripping plenty of it, plenty of breaks. I know we'll both have some content around the product on both of our YouTube channels. Any last minute thoughts? Any last minute takes? Any last minute tidbits on this product?
Man, I mean, if you get me going, this might last another hour. So I don't know if you want me to go there. I'm just excited. This is the best release of the year, the best product. Just this is Christmas. So just enjoy it, embrace it, love it. It will love you back.
I'm aligned. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Excited to rip the different variations. Jumbo this year. Excited for that. I think we're up to an extra auto in Jumbo this year. I think it's up to 4 autos or 5 autos.
Yeah, it almost kind of made sense to buy 1 jumbo instead of 2 hobbies.
Yeah.
Or if you want to put your faith into 1 box, I don't blame you. But if you want to spread it out into 2, so be it. But the value was actually there on the jumbo for sure.
Yeah, 4 autos per box. That's definitely going to be a fun one. No guaranteed auto in mega boxes this year. It doesn't appear. That was something I think I will give credit last year. They did really, really, really well was, I think they still have exclusive case hits in those. But the ability to pull the autograph in every box, like a 20 mega box case at 20 autos, I thought that was pretty cool. So I'll be curious to see what from like a retail and value perspective, how the mega box changes, over time. So that's one thing I'm curious about for sure.
Yeah, mega box. That was fun last year. You could for $60 just grab a mega, get an auto, and not the most expensive thing in the world.
Yep, for sure. All right. Well, we'll I'm sure talk about it more next week. We'll do a little stock watch and get back on track with who's up, who's down, and I'm sure we'll have some Bowman Chrome U sales in there to back some of that up. So shout out to you for all the expertise on this one. But for now, guys, that is all we got. All right, a little bit longer than normal on this one. I know my guy Gabe and I really got into the thick of it with that Bowman Chrome University checklist. Shout out to our guy Tim Getch for coming on and chatting with us. Crazy to see what him and the team at Check Out My Cards are doing. But we got to wrap it up. We've got some product dropping this week. You've heard me talk about it a couple times on this podcast. Bowman Chrome University football. Unfortunately, my Buckeyes don't have a very deep checklist. I think I've said that 10 times on this podcast, but it will still be a lot of fun. You've got some big names. We'll have plenty of that. We will be breaking that. We'll have it on our website, cardcollector2.com. We'll have it in our retail store. We'll have it all over our Whatnot channel all weekend long. That'll be a fun rip. Absolute football. Absolute FOTL. We ended up getting one case. Those were very, very, very expensive boxes, but appear to have purple kabooms in them for the first time ever. Likely we'll do a little ripping of that product on YouTube for some content. But $1,000+ price tag for a box of those FOTL boxes with the chance at a purple kaboom. So interesting, interesting price point there. A lot of risk versus reward. On that same note, Disney Mint drops this week. This is a newer product from Topps. This is Topps Disney Mint. It has one encased card, one serial numbered card, and 9 base cards. Now, there are autographs in the encased cards. There's definitely some upside in the encased cards. If you look at the checklist, it talks a lot about like what you can pull, like Scrooge comic cuts, Queen of Hearts acetate playing cards. You can get superfractors. You can get chrome autographs. There's a lot of things you can get in these, but it is currently, I've seen a case available for sale online at $800 for 10 boxes, or $8,000. Excuse me. $8,000 for 10 boxes. That's $800 a box for 11 cards. This is not your Topps Disney Wonder, where you can rip and get a lot of your favorite characters at a much cheaper, affordable price point. This is meant to be a higher end Disney release. Start getting those encased cards, some superfractors. It's breaker friendly, obviously, with 11 cards. This is different than the Topps Wonder. Even more so than the Topps Chrome Disney, which I think currently retails around $500 a box. So to get 11 cards at that $800 price point, this is the cream of the crop so far from Topps on the Disney Chrome, or the Disney brand. You'd probably say with Sapphire would be up there too, because Sapphire is so expensive. I think Sapphire is right around the same price point. That's just an extension of the Chrome brand though, so I'm kind of putting Chrome in there. But Sapphire would definitely be up there with Disney Mint. So a few other things: Leaf Bronx Legacy Baseball Collection, 24-25 Premier Collection Hockey are all coming out this week. So solid release week, obviously massive for us with Bowman Chrome U. So excited to see what that product looks like, and have plenty of breaks and such on the YouTube channel. We'll report back next week and see how that one went. But for now, that is all I got. Peace, guys.